Hello there. Hi. It's nice to have you back with us again. It is a lovely day. There is a feeling of change in the air for many, many reasons. Here we go again. It is English Addict coming to you live and direct from the birthplace of the English language, which is, of course, you know where it is. It's England. We are back, we are here again. It is so nice to have you with us once more. Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you feeling happy today? I hope you are feeling good. It is a strange time of year. I always feel at this time of year there are lots of things happening. I always feel, I sense the feeling of change in the air for various reasons, I suppose. The first one, which is very obvious, we are coming towards the end of September. October is just around the corner. I can't wait for October. As you know, it is a very busy month for me. Lots of new lessons, lots of live streams, and of course we will be celebrating my anniversary of this, all of this, beginning way back in 2006. I would imagine many of you, especially if you are still studying English at school, or maybe high school, or perhaps even after leaving school, I would imagine that you were very young. You must have been a very young person when I started making my YouTube videos, teaching English to the world way back in 2006 here on YouTube. In fact, I was the first English teacher on YouTube. Not a lot of people know that. I am what they call the OG English teacher on YouTube. I started before everyone else, and here I am nearly 18 years later, still doing it. And to be honest with you, the time has gone by so fast. I cannot begin to tell you how quickly 18 years can go by. It only seems like yesterday when I was here beginning my early YouTube lessons. In fact, at the time, I was still living in China. So I wasn't here in England. I was actually in China when I started making my YouTube lessons. It is lovely to have you here. Of course, it's not just me here today. We also have someone else joining in a little bit later on. He will be here a little bit later if you like listening to people talk. There he is, having a little dance in the corner. He is here later on. We are talking, of course, Mr. Steve. He will be here at around about 2:30. We have the latest news from the world of Mr. Steve. We have so many things to talk about on today's live stream. Yes, I am here for 2 hours. In fact, can I let you in on a secret? We might be here for more than 2 hours today. So we might extend the live stream a little bit because we are coming towards the end of September. October is just around the corner. For many people, it is an unusual time of year because we have to become accustomed. We have to start adjusting to the new season that is approaching all of us here in England. I'm sure you know what it is already. We will be talking about that a little bit later on. Also, we have some words, we have some phrases, we have topics to talk about as well. We will be looking at used items, things that have already been used, but perhaps something that is for sale, something that a person could buy that has already been used. I think these days, I don't think people are proud anymore or too proud of themselves. I don't think anyone worries anymore about buying something that has already been used by someone else. There are certain things you can buy that are not new, they have been used already. We will be talking about that later on. Also, words and phrases connected to the word enemy. Mr. Duncan, that does not sound like a very happy subject. Well, I am sure we can have some fun with that particular subject later on, even though a lot of people would agree that it is a very negative word. Hello to the live chat. I suppose I should say hello to you as well, because without you, there would be none of this. This would not exist without you being there. It's nice to have the live chat. Very busy already. Lots of people already joining in, saying hi on the live chat. Who was first? Shall we guess? Do you want to tell me who was first on today's live chat? Because I have a feeling that you know, I know, we all know. Congratulations once again to the champion. He is at number 1. He is at the top of the pile. It is, of course, Vitas. I say this every week. How do you do it? What is your click secret? Why and how? And what strange power do you have that allows you to click your finger so fast? So hello Vitas. We also have Beatrice. Hello Beatrice. Beatrice is here. I think maybe you are still watching us up in the mountains. Hello Beatrice. Nice to have you back here. Flower is here as well. We have Palmyra, we have Marcia, we have Kwan Ali Wassan. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. Nice to see you here as well. Jodo is here. Hello Jodo. I've never seen you before. Is it your first time? Please let me know if it is your first time. Please let me know on a live chat. Marco, 1987. Does the year in your name refer to your date of birth or maybe the year in which you were born? So perhaps you were born in 1987, which is, of course, a very, very long time ago. Charlotte is back. Hello, Charlotte Martin. Nice to see you back with us as well. Who else is here? We also have Florence. We also have Faribors is here as well. And, of course, he is here today. Another one of our very loyal viewers. We are talking about Luis Mendez is here today. Hello, Luis. Nice to see you back. I hope everything with you is going well. I hope it is going super duper. By the way, can I just say something? I know I'm not supposed to say this yet. This is a secret. But next week, next Sunday, we might be talking about the rendezvous for 2025 next week, next Sunday. So we might be revealing some information about the big rendezvous where you will have a chance to meet up with myself and also Mr. Steve as well. But please don't let that put you off. I will be there as well to brighten everything up. So if you want to meet up next year, watch next week, because we might have some big news for you next week concerning the 2025 English Addict Rendezvous. Make sure you are watching next Sunday. Franco is here. Franco Ferrari is here again. Francesca is here as well. Wow, we have so many people here today. Thank you very much to everyone for joining. I think I could spend the next 10 minutes saying hello to everyone because we have so many people joining in today. Thank you very much for your company. It's lovely to have you here on Sunday. Of course, we love looking at words and phrases of the English language, and today is no exception. Here is an interesting word. It might be a negative word, but of course, as we all know, there are some negative words in the English language. Like all languages, we often think more about negative words than positive words when we are learning a language. I think the main reason for that is because negative words are more dramatic. They normally have more impact, more meaning. So we often concentrate quite often on negative words. So here is the word that we might use quite often in English, especially in certain situations where perhaps another person has upset you in some way and you feel as if you want to say something to them, but you keep it all inside. You don't say anything. You keep it to yourself. The word we are looking at right now is grudge. That is a great word, a brilliant word. It really does sound like it has some sort of deep meaning, and the meaning is the feeling of resentment, normally towards another person or group, ill feeling towards another person, grudge. So this is being expressed as a noun. The word grudge. You are holding in a certain type of resentment. Resentment is another way of saying ill feeling. You have a negative feeling towards another person. You feel negative towards someone else. We call this a grudge, and it is a word we often use in English when we want to talk about the feeling that we have towards another person. We might feel a grudge towards another person, or maybe a group of people as well. We can hold a grudge. Grudge as a noun can also refer to bitterness, hatred, enmity. That's an interesting word, enmity. So it is, once again, a deep-seated inner hatred of another person or a group. Malevolence. Now there is a great word. Malevolence. If you feel malevolence, it means you feel a certain amount of hatred or dislike towards a group of people or one person. Rancor is another one. That is a great word. You do hear it used quite often. Formally, people will use that. Rancor. You feel the bitterness or the hatred of another person. Hate, that's held in or held inside. So you can hold emotions inside. You hold them in. So if you hold in a feeling, quite often a negative feeling, we can describe it as a grudge. So hate, that's held in and also long-lasting. A person can have a grudge towards another person for a very long time, sometimes for their whole life. So maybe you have a hatred of another person and it might go on forever and ever. That grudge will never disappear. It will always be there. Also, we can use grudge as an adjective. In this sense, we are describing a type of confrontation held to settle a dispute or some sort of rivalry. So this kind of links to what we are talking about later on, because later we will be looking at the word enemy. So you might say that this word connects to what we are looking at later on. As an adjective, the word grudge can mean a confrontation held to settle a dispute or rivalry. In sport, we often use the word grudge as an adjective. For example, in boxing, I don't know about you, but I don't like boxing. I don't like watching people punch each other in the face. I don't think it's a very nice sport, to be honest. But if two fighters are getting together, you might describe it as a grudge match. It means those two guys, or girls, of course, ladies also, like to get into the boxing ring. I know it's not very feminine, it's not very ladylike, but some people do like to do it. So we might describe a boxing match between two people who don't like each other very much as a grudge match, a type of match where two people will settle a score. Now there is another interesting phrase that we use in English. If one person wants to settle a score with another person, it means they are going to fight or battle with each other. You have a score to settle. You want to win. You want to get the better of that other person. So we can use the word grudge in many interesting ways. It might be a word that you've never heard before, or it might be a word that you are very familiar with. As you know, we like looking at words, we like looking at phrases. I love phrases very much. There are many phrases in the English language, many fun phrases. For example, here is one that I talked about a few weeks ago, right here on English Addict. I have been asked if I could repeat the phrase about chickens. It is a great expression. Don't count your chickens before they've hatched. So you might have the eggs, but it doesn't mean all of those eggs will hatch out and have chickens. So sometimes it is best to be patient, to wait before something happens. Don't count your chickens before they have hatched. It means you have to wait patiently. You have to wait until whatever happens, because you don't really know whether something will go well or not. so you might be making plans for the future. However, it is always best not to count your chickens before they have hatched out, because they might not all appear. So there you have it. An interesting phrase from a few weeks ago, and over the next few weeks as we go into October, I will be showing some old clips from previous English Addict episodes, because there are many things that we've spoken about, many things we've talked about in the past right here that you may have forgotten all about. So that is one of the things we will be doing during October. October is just around the corner. It is coming our way. And of course, something many people think about at this time of year, especially in this country, as the seasons change, we might also start thinking all about autumn. Autumn is coming, and already I've noticed that quite a few of the trees in this area have already started to lose their leaves. So this is an interesting season, I have to say. I think autumn is the most beautiful season that exists. I know summer is nice. A lot of people say that summer is a lovely time of year. But I also think that autumn is a wonderful season because you have all of the beautiful colours, the wonderful colours of autumn. And I have to say, you can have some very nice weather during the autumn season. So now we are beginning to head towards autumn. So October normally brings with it the feeling of autumn. The leaves will begin to change colour on the trees, and many of them will fall to the ground. It is a wonderful time of year. So I have to say, I am looking forward to October for many reasons, not least of all because of the anniversary of my YouTube channel, but also because autumn will be arriving as everything begins to change. We might have a look at some autumn scenes a little bit later on when Mr. Steve joins us in a few moments from now. It is lovely to have your company here, by the way. Talking of the weather, outside at the moment everything is looking rather nice. That is the view right now, looking out of the window. In fact, if you look closely, you might notice that some of the trees are already changing colour. The leaves on some of the trees are already beginning to turn. They are starting to change their colour. So there it is. You might say that that is a typical countryside view, looking out of my window right here in Much Wenlock. English Addict is with you. Mr. Steve will also be with us in a few moments from now. I would imagine a lot of people are waiting to find out what Mr. Steve has been up to. Also, we are looking at some other subjects as well today. We are looking at buying things that have been used already. Also, we will be looking at words and phrases connected to enemy. Having enemies. People who might be against you, or maybe someone who is doing a very similar thing to you. They might be your enemy, or maybe your rival. All of that coming up in a little bit, and I hope you will stay with us for that. Mr. Steve is on his way. I hope you will stay with us. I really, really do. Yes, Mr. Steve is coming. Don't worry. He's on his way. I haven't forgotten about him. He's definitely on his way. Believe it or not, that was filmed a couple of years ago when Mr. Steve and myself were taking a walk through Much Wenlock, and all of that is about to happen again because autumn once more is approaching. Talking of things approaching, Mr. Steve will be on his way and he will be with us very, very soon. English Addict is with you. And of course, it is not just me with you today. Every Sunday, I am joined by someone who has been described as, well, to be honest with you, I can't use any of the words he's been described as, because YouTube would come around and they would say, no, we are going to cut your cable. You can't say those things on YouTube. Here he comes anyway. It is, of course, the one, the only. They call him Mr. Steve.
Hello, you beautiful, lovely viewers from across the globe. Great to be here again with you all, and of course with Mr. Duncan on our usual Sunday slot, as we say. I've had we've got quite a lot of new people on today, Mr. Duncan. Can I say hello to Angela Layla, who said that they're new to this channel. Please be kind to me. We're always kind to people on this channel. If there's one thing you can guarantee on Mr. Duncan's channel, English teaching channel, everyone is nice and lovely. And we've met a lot of them, so we can vouch for that in person. This is a great place to be if you want people to be nice to you. And please be nice to Angela and confirm what I've just said. But anyway, yes, welcome, and welcome to anybody else who's new. Mr. Duncan's getting a lot of new people now, which is great to see. His fame is spreading far and wide.
I wish.
By the way, Giovanni Rivetti, my jam has been made. The Damson jam has been made. 37 jars this year, and we did talk about it in some previous lessons, maybe a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Duncan, I think. So
yes.
If you really are interested in jam making, go and watch. Last week or the week before. I think it was the week before.
Well, these are things that you do at certain times of the year. So we always think of making jam as being something that happens at a certain time of year. So lots of these things are very seasonal. Talking of which, of course, Mr. Steve,
yes,
we do have the most glorious season coming soon, and I always like this time of year. I suppose October for some people isn't a happy time because it's when the days get shorter. Here in England, everything starts to, I suppose we are heading towards winter, and you would say that autumn is the prelude to winter. But I have to say, I do love autumn very much. A colourful season, a wonderful season, and as October arrives, we will begin to experience that wonderful time of year again. As we saw a few moments ago, we saw Mr. Steve walking in the autumn weather, and I suppose this time of year the weather is a little unsettled. So we do have a little bit of rain, we have some sunshine, but I think as October arrives, everything can settle down a little bit. You can have some very nice weather in autumn.
Maybe. Well, Jimmy from Hong Kong, hello Jimmy, asked what do you think is the best country for the most beautiful autumn scenery? Well, I think you need to go to somewhere where there's lots of deciduous trees maybe to an arboretum
Hmm.
somewhere. You need to be in a temperate country that has obviously seasons. It's quite famous in America, isn't it? The where they called it fall rather than autumn. Fall meaning obviously the falling of the leaves. And there's a name given to people who go around the country looking at all the best scenery, because of course they've got giant redwoods and all sorts of things. Well, I don't think they're deciduous, but
Yes.
they have lots of huge areas devoted to trees where they can see the most wonderful scenery. So it could well be America, but if you go to an arboretum in this country, people do, and they'll see wonderful scenery throughout the sort of temperate climate zones.
Well, I can tell you now that there is a big movement of people during the autumn months in the United States. They go to the places where the climate is variable during the year, and because those places have warm and cool seasons, that means a lot of the trees will change colour and lose their leaves.
Yeah.
And the people are called leafers.
Leafers, that's it.
So those people will travel hundreds of miles to visit one part of the USA where autumn exists. So you might think that autumn exists all over the United States, but it doesn't. Certain areas have a much more varied season or temperature, and because of that, the trees will dramatically change colour. So they will not just lose their leaves, they will turn gold or red, and then the leaves will begin to fall. So that's what they're called in the USA. So maybe the United States is a good place to go. Spring is another season that is amazing. You might say that it is the opposite of autumn. So everything comes out. I know in Japan, spring is a very big season, a very colourful season for everything coming out. I'm not sure about autumn in Japan, what it looks like, but I would imagine it is just as colourful. So I think, to be honest with you, if you want my opinion, there are many places around the world, but I think English autumn in England, especially around here in the countryside, because we live in a very rural area in the countryside with lots of different types of trees. And yes, we do get a very wonderful autumn. So that is one of the reasons why I'm excited about October.
There are certain trees, though, where the leaves really do turn lots of different colours. There are certain species of deciduous tree. I think like acers, for example, where you get really beautiful changes in colours in the leaves. And so there will be certain areas where there are certain trees that have this particular quality in their leaves. And you've got to be in a part of the world where there are deciduous trees. It's no good going to the tropics.
Yeah. Well, also autumn can be different in the same place. So we could have a different autumn. It all depends on the temperature, how low the temperature gets, and also apparently it's all to do with the chemicals as well, because the chemicals in the trees react in different ways depending on what the temperature is. So if you have a very cold autumn, the leaves will change in a different way. If you have a very mild autumn, then the leaves will look different. And so I find this season quite exciting, because you never know what you are going to get in autumn. You don't know how it will actually look. So it is a rather exciting time of year, I have to say. This is English Addict, by the way. You are watching right now, for those who've just joined us and you are wondering, what is that? What am I looking at? It is, of course, myself, Mr. Duncan, and, of course, Mr. Steve with you every single Sunday. it has been an interesting month, September. We've done quite a lot of live streams, a lot of new video lessons, and with that, we've also had a lot of new viewers. I've noticed today, Steve, we do have a lot of new people watching. If it is your first time, please can you say, Mr. Duncan, it is my first time here, and we will say hello to you. So it is nice to have you here today.
Yes, thank you for your comments about my shirt. I usually wear a red shirt, of course, a bit different today. Mr. Duncan said, and I said last week I wanted to wear something different.
Yes.
So according to Saturino, this is a type of camouflage shirt that you can wear when you're in the army, when you're in places with sort of grey rocks. So yes, maybe I would be well camouflaged in sort of mountainous areas.
Hidden.
But yes, there's a story behind this shirt, but I won't bore you with it today because Mr. Duncan's got a lot to cover. But I'm wearing something different, so thanks for your comments.
That's nice. We found something this week. We're not going to show it, but we did find something this week that, well, it did bring back a lot of memories. We found the videos that I recorded way back in 2007 when we visited Mr. Steve's parents' house for the last time. So they were about to move out, and the house, believe it or not, the house was about to be demolished, to be destroyed. So I went along to film some of the shots, some of the scenes in the house and outside the house. And on that video, or on one of those videos, there is your mother and father also talking as well. So not only that, we could hear your mother talking again and laughing, and it was quite an amazing thing. We're not showing anything today, just in case Mr. Steve gets worried. So we're not showing anything today.
Good.
But I thought it was amazing, and this is one of the reasons why I love making videos, recording things. I always have my phone in my hand, and I know sometimes, Steve, it does annoy you quite a lot because Mr. Steve likes to have a walk or maybe visit somewhere and move around very quickly, but I like to film things. So quite often I'm standing there with my phone or maybe my big camera, and I will be filming things which can be quite annoying. However, many years later, you might look at those videos or those photographs, and all of those memories will come back. So it is a great way of remembering those little moments, the small moments of time that you might easily forget.
Yes, because we thought we didn't have a recording of my mother's voice at all. Couldn't find anything because my mother didn't like to be filmed.
No.
She if we put the camera, she didn't even like having a photograph taken. She hated it. So videoing, she didn't like that either. But just occasionally, she didn't mind. And we thought we had no recordings of my mother's voice on because I was missing. I couldn't remember what my mother's voice sounded like. So Mr. Duncan's found it. So yes, it is important that you do film things, I think, because you just never know what's going to happen. And you might want to look back at some fond memories of loved ones that are no longer here and take those photographs. Most of us have got smartphones now. It's easy to record little moments that you'll be able to look back on in years to come with fond memories. So yes.
And I always say, Steve, it is the small, almost unimportant moments that are the ones that have the deepest impact.
Yes, when you catch people doing things that they're not. It's not forced. They're just being natural. It's not a pose for this photograph. It's you're just filming something, or you're photographing something, and it's an unguarded moment.
Yes.
Or just a moment when you just forget about your self-consciousness and you're just acting normally. And that's, I mean, often the photographs that get prizes are the ones where they're catching people, when they don't know they're being photographed, because people behave very differently.
Yes, we often call it a spontaneous moment.
Yes.
So a moment that hasn't been planned, and quite often they can be the most outstanding. So don't forget that. Always record things, photograph things, and of course don't forget to record the sound of things as well. A person's voice, their laughter and their smile.
Oh, Mr. Duncan, we've got two new people who have made themselves known on the live stream. So we had Angela before, who was new. We now have two people in India. Now, I'm going to try and pronounce this name. Badarina Ryan.
Oh.
Badarina Ryan. Can I call you Bad for short? I'm sure you're very good. Is new from India. You've had a lot of new people watching you in India, Mr. Duncan. And also Kitchen King.
Yes.
Also from India. And they're discussing with each other what part of India they're from. So Badarina Ryan, apologies if I haven't pronounced that correctly, and Kitchen King, along with Angela, have made themselves known on the live stream today. Welcome.
Well, shall we give them a round of applause?
Yes.
Just for having the courage to say something on the live chat, because it's not easy.
No.
Welcome everyone, and yes, I do know that we have a lot of people watching in India, so a big hello to you as well. It's nice to have you here.
Our lovely people on the live chat. We've got a lot of people who come on week after week, are also making the new people feel welcome, so thank you for that.
Yes. Well, you know our moderators. We have a great team of moderators on here, including Vitas. We also have Lewis as well. So we have some lovely moderators on here who will make you feel welcome and comfortable, because this is a fun place to be. I know these days, a lot of people complain these days, Steve. They say, you can't have a laugh anymore. You can't enjoy yourself anymore. It's not allowed. But you can. You can do it. It is possible to still enjoy this thing we call life. You can. So don't worry too much about it here. You can have a little bit of fun. Yes, we are in England, by the way. So we live in a place in England called Much Wenlock. It's a lovely little place, very small, and we live just outside with a wonderful view out of the window. You might say that we live in a rural location in the countryside. I'm just trying to get it up on the screen. Here it is. So there it is. That is the view right now. So that is looking out of the window right now at 10 minutes away from 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. That is what we can see outside the window.
Oh, Mr. Duncan, we've got somebody else new. Again from India, we've got Shruti Surrender. So welcome to you too. Coming out of the woodwork, as we say. It's an expression in English to say that you're making yourself known. So congratulations to you too, and welcome.
Yes, I think that deserves another one of these.
Yes, and don't forget, if you're new to Mr. Duncan's channel, if you don't already know, Mr. Duncan has how many videos? 500,000, something like that. You've got thousands of videos.
Yes, there are quite a few videos. Some people complain that I have too many lessons, but of course there are playlists, so you can go through the playlists and watch the videos one by one. So that is the easiest way of enjoying my lessons and following them. But it is true, I do have a lot, but then again, I have been doing this for nearly 18 years. We are celebrating at the end of October. We have the 18th anniversary of my YouTube channel beginning.
And thank you, Saksham, for mentioning the importance of liking Mr. Duncan's channel, liking this live stream, because the way it works with YouTube is that if you like Mr. Duncan's channel, that means that it then becomes available for lots of other people to see, because that's just the way it works. If a video gets lots of likes, it gets sent out and lots of other people can get to see it. So that's why it's important. If you like it, we're assuming you are.
Yes.
So yeah, please do like it if you're liking it. Even if you're not liking it, like it anyway, because somebody else might like it and then get to watch it.
Yes. So even if you don't like it, can you please like this?
Like it, because you might not like it, but somebody else might, and they won't get to see it if you don't like it, because that's how it works.
So that's it.
On YouTube land.
So just like. Come on. Just give me one of these underneath. It's very painless. It won't hurt at all. We do seem rather desperate, to be honest with you, with that one. We have lots of subjects coming up today. We are looking at buying things that have been used already.
Oh.
We are also looking at words and phrases connected to enemies. Having an enemy. And you might be surprised how many ways the word enemy can actually be used, not necessarily in the way you would think. So some people might say, oh, Mr. Duncan, the word enemy is always negative, or maybe aggressive, or even violent, but not always. So we will be talking about that a little bit later on as well. We'll have a quick break as we approach 3 o'clock, so you can have a little drink of water, I will have a drink of water, and Mr. Steve will have a very large drink of his favourite brew. And then we will be right back with more English Addict.
I'm a big boy now.
English Addict is with you today. I hope you are having a good Sunday, and I hope everything is going super duper with you in your world. Of course, it's not just me. It is also the one and only Mr. Steve is still with us.
Yes, I'm still here, Mr. Duncan. I'm still here. So what are we going to talk about, Mr. Duncan?
Well, we have a lot to talk about today. We have a lot of things to look at, lots of subjects, you might even say. Now, we live in a world where a lot of people seem very happy to be wasteful, to throw things away, to buy new things all the time. Clothing. I think one of the worst things is clothing. The fashion industry. Now, this is just my opinion for what it's worth. I think the fashion industry creates a lot of waste because we have seasons, we have fashions that come and go. And every time a new fashion comes in, people will buy new things and then throw the old things away or just never wear them again. Women. I'm looking at you, women.
Men are just as bad now.
I think so.
Or almost.
Yeah, it's not just women, it is men as well. Men can also be very wasteful with fashion. But I think fashion is one of those things that creates a lot of waste. Even if the shop itself might not sell certain things, or maybe if the fashion changes, so they will just simply throw away all of the unsold things. Of course, you can have one of those wonderful shops that sells all of the designer labels at a cheap price. TK Maxx is the one we have here. Although for some reason, I don't know why, in the United States it is known as TJ Maxx. I don't know why, but it does appear to be the same shop. But here we call it TK Maxx.
It's a sort of a recycling centre for brands, isn't it?
Yes.
For whatever brands, big name brands, whatever they can't sell, they get rid of and send it to TK Maxx.
Yeah.
There are other shops, I think, similar shops, but that's the main one over here, I think.
And you might not realise it, but sometimes there are fights that break out in TK Maxx because there might be one or two items that are very desirable. So maybe 2 or 3 people might try to get the same thing. So in the past there have actually been fights. People have started fighting over a certain item of clothing. But as I mentioned just, the fashion industry does create a lot of waste. However, there are people who also believe in selling the things that they don't want. Maybe things that are old or not necessarily worn out. So they might still be very good quality. But you might say that those things have seen better days, perhaps. But someone else might be able to love them. So we are looking at things that are for sale, things that are sold, but they have already been used. And Mr. Steve, I think you are quite good in this respect, Mr. Steve, because I don't think you waste things. You don't buy new clothes all the time, every time the fashion changes.
No.
So I think it is the same situation with you. So you might buy something that is used. There are many things that we can buy that have been used, not necessarily bad condition or quality. So it is possible. Of course, I always mention technology, and I think things that have been used already, maybe a smartphone, for example. You might buy a used smartphone, something that has already been used. Of course, nowadays there are many companies who will take the old smartphones and then they will recondition them So they will try to make them as good as new, but they will also be a little cheaper as well, which is always a good thing when you think about it. So there are many things that you can sell that have been used. We often use the term pre-used. So when you see something for sale, you might see this word, Steve, next to it. Pre-used.
Yes, it's a posh way of saying second-hand. Second-hand, if you say the word, oh, it's second-hand or it's used, it gives the impression that the item may be of a lower quality. If you say pre-used, it almost makes it sound like it's almost new. It's quite an interesting word, that, Mr. Duncan. It's a way that I think that sellers will use that phrase if they want to make it sound more appealing.
Yes, I think you're selling something that has been used or may also be a little worn or old. However, if you say pre-used, it doesn't sound so bad. We often use this with cars, don't we?
Yes, well, yeah, second-hand cars, pre-used. You have to actually say now how many owners the car's had.
Oh.
I've noticed, because I'm always... Everybody who watches this regularly knows I'm a car fan, and I'm always looking at a particular car and deciding I want to buy it. I never do, and so I look it up on the second-hand car things online. Auto Trader is the popular one we have. Car Gurus. There's a couple of them in the UK, and I love to go on there and see how much a certain car that I like the look of costs. I never buy one. I just like to look. And I've noticed now that they have to tell you how many owners the car has had.
That is very interesting.
It's very interesting because, of course, when it comes to a car, you want it to be... You can't really... If you don't know much about cars and you go to buy a car, you know, it could look nice and clean. It's very difficult if you're not an expert in cars to know whether that car is actually in good condition or not.
Yes.
It's very difficult. What's the suspension like? What are the brakes like? What's the engine like? It might be all nice and shiny on the outside, but what is it like in the inside?
Yes.
So you have to assess the quality of that car by things like how many owners has it had.
Well, I think they're the two important things, aren't they? The number of owners and how many miles it has done.
Yes.
And of course, there are always those little hidden things that you can't see. I always think the worst part of a car, I'm not a car person, but Mr. Steve is. I always think the worst part of a car is underneath, because you can't see any of that. So all of that is hidden away. There might be all sorts of problems and horrors.
And we've all... Sorry, go on, Mr. Duncan.
Hidden underneath.
Yes, and we've all bought second-hand cars, and you've done the best job you can at trying to work out whether it's a good buy, and then there's something wrong with it, and you have to go and take it to be repaired, because the person that is selling the car, the reason that it's second-hand in the first place is probably because there was something wrong with it. Quite often, you always are suspicious, aren't you?
Yeah.
Why did the person get rid of that car? Was it just that the lease was up after 3 years? That's fair enough. But if the car is maybe 5 years or 6 years old, well, why didn't they keep it for longer? A car that's coming out of its lease, 3 years, is probably nothing wrong with it. But yeah, anyway, enough about that.
Here's an interesting word. I remember growing up, and I'm sure you've used this in the past as well, Steve. If someone is selling a car and it's in a very, very bad condition, we used to always describe it as a... Now, I'm not sure if that's going to come up on the camera. Can you see it? We used to describe a really bad car as a nail. Now, do you remember that expression, Steve?
Yeah. Or a banger.
An old banger.
An old banger. or a nail,
Yes.
because old cars used to make a banging noise through their exhausts when they were not in a very good condition.
The other one, of course, was a rust bucket.
A rust bucket, of course. Most cars from the 70s were rust buckets, 60s and 70s.
Yes.
And cars have got much better in terms of rust prevention.
I can say clearly, if there is anyone who knows how bad the quality of a car that was made many years ago is, it's Mr. Steve, because you know that certain cars from the past would often go rusty or fall to pieces sooner than others. Anyway,
It's still if you buy Japanese cars, then they're still overall the most reliable, I think, when you look at the official figures.
anyway,
And Korean cars are quite reliable as well. But traditionally British cars were the worst.
moving on.
British and French cars, I've got to say, were always the most unreliable. But
Yes.
anyway, we don't want to talk about cars all the time.
Well, you just literally have.
Hand-me-down in the US, says Saturina. They often
Yeah.
use the word hand-me-down.
Something that is a hand-me-down is normally not sold or bought. It is normally something that's given through the family as each generation comes and goes.
Like clothes, for example.
Yes, or jewellery.
Clothes or jewellery. If you were in a family, you had 2 or 3 brothers or sisters, maybe you had same sex as yourself, brother or sister, and as you got older, you outgrew your clothes. Your younger brother or sister could have those clothes because they hadn't worn out. They were hand-me-downs.
Yes.
You handed them down to the next member of the family that was, of the correct size to wear it.
Yes. And of course other people. Now I remember neighbours would give clothes to us that were used, and they were handed or given.
Hand-me-downs. By the way, Giovanni says that the word for a nail in terms of a car in Italy is a carriola. Carriola,
Which is a wheelbarrow.
which is a wheelbarrow. Don't buy it. So that's fun. Yeah.
So something can be sold that has been used. We often describe it as second hand. So literally, what I love about this phrase is literally it is saying that you might have something new, so you are the person who has held it first. So you are selling it to someone else. So that now will be second hand because another hand will take it. It is something that is being sold as already used. It is second hand. So I have to say I do like that expression. Of course, Mr. Steve, going back to cars again, quite often a piece of machinery, maybe a computer or a piece of technology, you can sometimes sell a thing that has been used, but maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it no longer functions, but you can still sell it as spares or repair. So this means that you can sell something, but you have to tell them that it doesn't work anymore. So maybe a camera or a computer. So maybe that person can use the parts inside and they can build a new computer or even try to repair that particular thing. So quite often, something that is old, something that is broken down or doesn't function or work anymore will be sold as spares or repair. And of course, back to cars, the same thing can be done there as well, can't it, Steve?
Yes, you might, particularly for models that are no longer in production. I often see that on the car channels. Somebody might buy an old wreck of a car. It might have been in a serious accident, for example. It was written off. In this country, we say if a car is written off, it means it's been in an accident or sustained damage that means it's beyond economic repair.
Yeah.
So it would cost more to repair it than the car was worth.
Or it's just rusted away.
Or could have rusted away, yes. Now, some people might want to restore them, but that particular car could be sold for spares or repair, because some unscrupulous people will, of course, try and repair a car that's been written off. But yeah,
well, they might also just want to renovate it as well.
They might want to renovate it. People can renovate anything these days.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing if you renovate a car. You might buy something that's very unusual, maybe a rare car, but there isn't much left of it. So you might decide to rebuild it, to make it as good as new. So that is an interesting phrase we often hear. If something is being sold, but it doesn't work anymore, it no longer functions, but you can use it for spares or repair.
Just going back to second-hand, the use of the word second-hand, Pedro mentions, and Giovanni mentioned it earlier, second-hand books. Giovanni was buying second-hand books, grammar books to study English. And, of course, going around a second-hand bookshop is a real pleasure if you like books, because and we've got one in Much Wenlock.
Yes.
And it's great to go around these old bookstores. They're second-hand. People have had them before. But there's something about holding a book, particularly an old book, because a lot of things don't change. For example, like if you buy books on language, or often the grammar hasn't changed that much.
No, that's right.
If you can buy books on sort of reference books, for example, on plants, to identify plants, or sea creatures, or gardening books, certain things, certain skills just don't really ever change.
Bird
books.
I've got loads of books about birds, and they all have very similar details in them, but some of them explain them in a more expressive way, or maybe they have nice photographs or
Yes.
more information. So there is nothing better than having a book to look at, especially if you're learning a new skill, such as English. A book.
Yes. Music's another one. How to learn music, that hasn't changed for hundreds of years. You know, there are certain skills which really don't ever change, and of course novels. A novel's a novel, so it's going to be the same. Whenever the book was written, it's still going to be. You're going to get some pleasure out of reading it, but maybe you wouldn't go to a second-hand bookshop if you were, a student studying science.
Yeah, an
physics,
encyclopedia is a very different thing,
because that's going to be out of date.
Yeah.
But certain things don't go out of date. Reference things, and it's ideal to go and buy them from a bookshop.
The other thing, of course, is an atlas or a book with maps, because if you buy something from 60 years ago or 100 years ago, and you want to look at the maps of the world, then, as we all know, lots of things have changed since then.
Maps, exactly. You don't go and buy a second-hand map unless it's maybe only a couple of years old.
Yes, unless of course you're interested to see what the world used to look like before all of the countries started to be moved around.
And it's something pleasurable about holding a book. It's a physical thing, because obviously you can read things now on tablets and on your computer, but it's something very real about holding a book in your hand and reading it. And it's nice to see them on a bookshelf. It's almost like you've got all your book. I've still got all the books from when I was a student.
Yes.
Well, I've still got all my books, and I like to see them on the shelf there. That gives me a warm feeling. It's part of my history. They're there. That they might be sort of 50 years old or something. Oh no, probably not quite that old. 45 years old. And anything I've read, books, I just like to keep them on the bookshelf because it's just a memory.
Well, you know, nowadays, Steve, what's the big thing nowadays is not reading but listening to books.
Yes.
So it has become a multi-million pound business. So reading books, I've always thought about that, you know. I've always thought about taking maybe some old stories and reading them myself and making them into a short video or a podcast. The only problem is everyone is doing that now. So it's a completely saturated market of everyone making some sort of book that's being converted to an audio book.
Audio book or a podcast.
Yes.
I know a lot of people at work, a few people at work who, when they're driving, will put these on in the car, a podcast or an e-book, and listen to it while they're driving. I'm not sure that that's particularly safe thing to do.
I suppose
might be a bit of a distraction.
I suppose it's no different from listening to the radio while you're driving.
It probably isn't. It probably depends on what you're listening to. It would still be a distraction. I'm quite weird when I'm driving, as Mr. Duncan knows. I very rarely have the radio on at all.
Although you do have the sat-nav that keeps repeating the same thing again and again. Turn left at the next junction. Turn left at the next junction.
Yeah, it does get
Take
annoying.
the next left at the next junction. And I'm thinking, all right, we get it. Yes, we heard you the first time.
Yeah, Beatrice mentions that she likes to buy second-hand novels in English to practice reading, and maybe you could speak it aloud.
Yes.
To practice the language. And Marcia, in fact, when she was with Beatrice, bought a lovely second-hand book from a second-hand bookshop in Buenos Aires. It was a beautiful day out. So, yeah, it's something special about going to a second-hand bookshop and just spending... You can spend hours in there, can't you? And it's not costing you very much.
Yeah.
You can buy, 6 books for the price of one new one.
And you have that wonderful aroma in the air as well. It's a combination of print and mould.
Yes.
And it fills the air when you're in there as well. So there is something quite magical about going into an old bookshop.
So we've touched on something with second-hand bookshops. A lot of people saying that they like the experience of doing that.
Well, let's face it, new books can be quite expensive, especially exercise books or books about a certain subject. Of course, here you can have all of this for free. It doesn't cost anything. All you have to do is click on my face and you have this every Sunday and also every Wednesday, and lots of new lessons as well. You might also buy something that is sold as seen. Now, this is a very technical one. I'm going to try and explain this because I think it can be a little bit complicated. If you mark something as sold as seen, it means you are buying it in the condition that it's in. So if you look at something and you buy it, that's it. That's what you're doing. You're buying it by looking at it. So it is, I always think this is a little bit naughty, because I think this is a way of misleading people as well. It can be something that can be used. It's almost as if you are signing a contract here. Because when you buy something that is sold as seen, you are saying that you accept everything about it. The things that are hidden away as well. So it can be a little bit misleading. Perhaps again, if we go back to cars, the same thing can apply, can't it, Steve?
Well, yes, if something is listed as sold as seen, it means that you're buying it, and if you discover later that there's something wrong with it, you cannot go back and get your money back, because you're buying it as you see it. You've got to assess that item that you're buying while you're there, and once you pay the money out, if there's something you've missed that's wrong with it, you cannot go back and get your money back.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the UK, you can say that for a car, or for maybe electrical items, or anything really. Sold as seen. It just means that you have got to know what you're doing when you buy that item. You've got to be. It's a bit of a reminder to yourself that, hang on, if they're saying sold as seen, I better make sure that this is exactly what I want.
Yes.
And it might be. There might be nothing wrong with it. It could be a picture. It could be a book. But it means you can't go and get your money back later if you change your mind.
I think it is an unwritten contract as well that you're entering into, because if it's sold as seen, if there is a problem, you've bought the problem as well. And
even if you don't like the thing, even if you sort of want 2 days later, you think, oh, I don't really want that, you can't get your money back if it's said. And that's usually, isn't it, on second-hand things?
Yes, always be careful if you buy something and it says sold as seen. There might be some sort of hidden problem lurking underneath. Here we go, Steve. Oh, now this is my favourite. If you are lucky enough to find something for sale that has been used and it says as good as new. Wow. Technology. Smartphones. Quite often you will see a person selling something. I suppose the biggest marketplace would be eBay. So a lot of people use eBay. Personally, I've never bought anything from eBay. I've almost bought things, but at the last moment I always panic and change my mind. So there have been things in the past, maybe a little piece of camera equipment or something for the studio. And at the last moment, just before I click buy, I change my mind and I go, no. It might be broken. It might not work. How do I get my money back? I don't want all of that hassle and all of those problems.
Yeah, I can understand that for items that you might want to buy, like camera equipment, maybe computer equipment. I've used it quite successfully for buying books and music in particular. Some obscure bit of music that's no longer in print. Well, you pretty much know what you're getting with that. If that is the bit of music you want, as long as it looks in reasonable condition, you know you are going to get that. And then you can look to see if the seller's got lots of likes or whatever it is. I can't remember now.
Yeah, they normally have some sort of response from the buyers, so they will say whether something is a good company to deal with or a bad one. But I always lose my nerve. I'm always about to click. Just my finger is hovering over that button, but then for some reason I just completely change my mind and click away and think, no, I would rather buy something new than something that is used. Yeah,
particularly with sort of electrical equipment or camera equipment. You want some kind of manufacturer's guarantee with that. But books, maybe ornaments, things that there's a picture of that you can see, and you pretty much know, there's not much else you could check anyway. Then I found that quite successful.
Well, my little dog, I will show you down here. My little dog. Can you see my dog down there? A lot of people don't notice that there is a dog hiding down there. But that little dog I actually bought from a second-hand shop that sold or sells old things or things that have been used. So I bought this little dog down here, and now he sits in my studio with cool sunglasses next to the clock, looking really cool and trendy.
Pedro, sorry, were you going to say something, Mr. Duncan?
Yeah, I was going to say, I bought that from a second-hand shop, and it is in perfect condition.
Well, you saw it
Yes.
and you looked at it. The price was right, and you decided yes, that there were no cracks in it.
Yeah.
But if you might have thought twice about it if you bought it online. But to
So-
see it, there's lots of second-hand shops around here.
Oh, can
where
I
we
just
live.
can I just say hello to Pedro Belmont is here today. Pedro asks, would you ever buy used underpants?
Well, that's what I was. That's what the one I was going to read out was that one.
I suppose it depends whose they are.
Oh,
I'm s-
that's a good answer, Mr. Duncan.
sorry. Can I just apologise for that? I wish I hadn't. Have I given too much away there? Have I given anything away about my private life? No, I don't mean that. That's a joke, by the way.
Well,
But
I'm
no-
sure there are people online who are selling their underwear to people. I'm sure there's sites you can go to for that, Mr. Duncan.
Steve, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I'm not sure.
Maybe we could have a slight sideline here.
Oh, Mr. Duncan, that isn't what I was thinking. But I'm sure that there are sites on the internet where there are attractive people who are maybe selling their underwear. We don't want to talk about that.
This seems like I
but-
did not intend to stray into this subject, and now I wish I hadn't mentioned it. But
Have I ever bought second-hand clothes? That is a good question, though. I'm not sure that I have. What I tend to do is I buy clothes new. I tend to buy high-quality items and keep them till they just fall apart. So I'll buy something. Mr. Duncan's laughing.
I just feel now as if I've opened up a whole world of strangeness.
I'm trying to change it. Yeah. So I tend to buy things and keep them. Whatever I buy, I make. I think my unusual Sunday sneeze is
Yes.
trying to come on, Mr. Duncan.
Everybody, Mr. Steve
No,
is
it's
about
gone.
to sneeze.
I think it's going every Sunday. There's something in this studio of yours, Mr.
Come on,
Duncan.
we want a Sunday sneeze.
That is, I've managed to suppress it.
Don't hold it back, Steve. We want it. We want you to
Have you
sneeze.
discovered you can, if you pinch your nose here, it really is hard. It really can stop a sneeze.
But don't
or
stop it.
suppress
But
a
we
sneeze.
want it. We want Mr. Steve to sneeze.
I'm
Oh.
a bit. There's definitely something in here, Mr. Duncan,
Anyway.
that gives me an allergic reaction. Suppress. That's a
But
good word.
Can I just say before Mr. Steve strays completely away from the subject, my family was poor. You might not believe this because everyone thinks I was born into royalty, but I wasn't. My family was quite poor. We didn't have much money, and quite often we would have other people's clothes, or my mother would make clothes for us, especially my sisters. So they would often have their clothes made for them, and my mother would often make the clothes for my sister. Or we would have things given to us, or things that we would buy from a jumble sale. So this is something we have in this country. So you buy second-hand things. Normally you go to a place, a school, or a community centre, and you will look at things and you will buy them just for a few pennies. So they're not expensive. So, yes, second-hand clothing that's been used. We used to wear quite a lot of it because not like Mr. Steve and his rich, posh family with his silver spoon in his mouth. I didn't have any silver spoon. I just had a broken stick in my mouth.
Well, so that's what I like to do. I like to keep things because once I've made the decision to buy something, and I spend a long time
Yes.
making decisions on buying anything.
Yeah. So normally when Mr. Steve chooses something, by the time he's decided, the thing has either sold out or it's not made anymore, or maybe they've moved on to something else.
I typically go to a shop, which is very rare these days because I buy most things online. Particularly clothes. I absolutely hate shopping for clothes because I just cannot make the decision. I'll put it on and think, I'm not sure. What does it look like? Is it fit properly? Because when you put things on in a fitting room, because I would never buy anything without trying it on, apart from underwear, obviously. Back to underwear again.
Sorry, Steve. No, well, nobody tries underwear.
I know. I'm
on.
joking. I'm just joking.
Yes. Oh, I know. I'm just making the point that that's the only thing. But I've had many bad experiences in the past buying underpants that when you get them home and try them on, they're just horrible. They're so painful, or they pinch.
The trouble. But
in
even
certain places, but you can't take them back.
But even a shirt or a pair of trousers in the shop, you think, well, I think they're all right, and then you get them home and start wearing them, and there's something about them you don't like. They're uncomfortable. So I just hate clothes shopping because I'm so indecisive, and there's always music playing.
Yeah.
Which I can't think if there's music playing, which obviously they do it deliberately because they want people just to make a decision, just impulse buy. So I end up just walking out.
It can be a very disorientating thing going into a clothes shop, especially when it's full of young people.
I don't buy swanky clothes, Saturino.
Sorry?
Saturino says I only buy swanky clothes. I'm sure you're joking.
I can say now, Steve owns some of the worst clothing. So when he's outside in the garden, sometimes he wears these really old and dare I say scruffy clothes.
Well, in the garden, yes, obviously in the garden. But you see, that's it. These were clothes that were really nice and new, and they're now. Let's just say you wouldn't want to be seen in public in them. Clothes that have passed their point where they look good in pub. You don't want to wear an old shirt that's faded with a collar.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I would wear it in the garden, for example.
Yeah.
So I'll keep it in the garden. I never throw anything. I very rarely throw clothes away. I just feel guilty. Of the waste, but anyway, that's just me. But then I keep everything anyway.
Can I say hello to Claudia? Hello, Claudia. I used to wear my cousin's clothes when I was young, and as we would grow, the clothes would become short and tight. We need bigger clothes, and the clothes are still good enough to wear. That is common. It is very common in families. As I said, people used to put clothing through our letterbox. They would feel so sorry for us.
Really?
They would come round and they would put clothes for the letterbox because they just felt so sorry for us.
Really? Is that true?
No.
I thought you were making that up, Mr. Duncan.
They used to push shoes through the letterbox. We would wake up in the morning and there would be a shoe jammed in the letterbox that somebody had tried to donate to us. No, that's not true. I just made that up. It amused me.
Well, there are very popular charity shops.
Yes.
There are lots of charity shops in the UK, and they sell a lot of second-hand clothes, and you can pick up some really, and I know a lot of people who are doing, like friends of mine in theatre, do theatre, amateur theatre. If they going to want to wear something on the stage but they don't want to buy something new, they'll go around charity shops to find a hat,
yes,
or something like that, or a jacket that maybe just for £12 would just be fine on the stage, and they don't have to or a pair of particular shoes, and they're just going to wear them for certain things. So I mean, the charity shop in Much Wenlock is always full of people.
Well, I will say now, in most big towns or cities, in the town centre, quite often most of the shops now, the ones that are still open are normally charity shops. So they're normally run by charities. So they buy things that are used, or they take things in that are used, and then they sell them, and then the money they make, they donate to their own charity. They give it to their charity. But because of the terrible state of our towns, most town centres, They just have charity shops everywhere. There aren't many shops selling new things. Most of them seem to be charity shops.
And a lot of these shops, I mean, these charity shops, I mean, a lot of the stuff in there, the clothes, maybe ornaments, they sell lots of clothes and lots of sort of ornaments and things. They've basically been donated by families where their relatives have died. I mean, that's where I took a lot of my mother's clothes and ornaments in the house that we didn't want, because you can't keep everything. And so a lot of these clothes are, I mean, some people will change their fashions regularly and maybe take them in, but a high proportion of the clothes and ornaments and things that you find in a charity shop are sort of recycled from relatives that have died.
Also, we have one charity shop here in Much Wenlock, and it belongs to a wildlife organisation. They take in sick animals and they look after them, and then they hopefully, if they make it through to the end, they are then released again. We once took a little hedgehog that we found in our garage. We returned from holiday and found this rather unhappy hedgehog. It didn't look very well, so we took it to this particular charity. There was nothing they could do for it. Unfortunately, it was so ill, so dehydrated. Sadly, it did not survive. So there is a charity shop here in Much Wenlock. I think it's the only one. I think we only have one charity shop in Much Wenlock, but it is a very good cause. Mr. Steve, we have an intriguing subject to look forward to.
Right.
In a few moments. We'll take a quick break again.
What are we going to talk about, Mr. Duncan?
We're looking at words and phrases connected to the word enemy.
Enemy.
Do you, Mr. Steve, do you have any enemies?
I have many enemies, Mr. Duncan, as you well know, because I'm such a horrible person. Yes, I mean, we've got electric fences, barbed wire around the house. We have to stop, all my enemies from getting in, unfortunately.
We have a sniper on the roof.
That's it. We've got gun turrets.
Yes, to make sure that
24-hour security guards.
We have to keep our enemies as far away as we can. Although there is a phrase in English that says the opposite. We will be looking at that in a few moments from now. Don't go away. This is English Addict on a Sunday afternoon, coming to you live from England.
As well. Are we?
It's a chance to make some cash. Let's see. Some money.
Not too bad. That's fucking take my mind as please. Yeah, a bit of fun.
I just realised Mr. Steve's microphone was still on. I hope Steve didn't say anything rude or unpleasant there, but we were chatting away about what we were talking about today. Anyway, that was Mr. Steve there doing his exercises. Oh my goodness. I accidentally left Mr. Steve's microphone on. Did you say anything then, Steve, that might be unpleasant?
I can't remember what I can't remember what I said, Mr. Duncan.
You said you felt better because you woke up this morning in a bad mood, but now you said, I feel so much better now I'm here live with you on English Addict. And I have to say,
I didn't wake up in a bad mood.
it is a good place to come and have fun with the English language. And that's why we're here, isn't it? That's why we're here, Steve. Isn't it?
Yes.
Please say yes.
Yes, Mr. Duncan.
I'm still trying to get the image of other people's underwear out of my head. But as I said earlier, you'll be amazed what people will buy from other people, especially famous people, or maybe, shall I say, beautiful people? Maybe people who are attractive. They might sell certain items of underwear or clothing.
Mr. Duncan, I thought we'd moved on from this. I think people understood what we were saying.
But why would you do that anyway?
Well, I don't. Anyway.
There are some strange people in the world. There really are. Talking of strange people, it's Mr. Steve and Mr. Duncan on a Sunday afternoon. Thinking, oh my goodness, the world is a very strange place. We are looking at a word now, Steve. This is a big word, by the way. A very big word, even though the word itself is small. But it does cover many things. Are you ready to talk about this? We are looking at words and phrases connected to, and here is the word coming up now on your screen. The word is enemy. Enemy. An enemy. So there are many ways of describing, of using this word. I think I've gone to a lot of trouble here. Do you like this? Do you like this? I design all of this, by the way, myself by hand. So I don't use artificial intelligence to do this. I do it all myself. I build all of this up myself and create it. So please enjoy my work underneath there as well. Mr. Steve, I think the word enemy is an interesting one. What do you think of, Steve? Because as you said, you have many enemies.
Oh, yes.
Many enemies.
Well, people get jealous, don't they? Yeah, somebody who wants to do me harm. Somebody who doesn't like me. Maybe I've upset them. An enemy is somebody who is not working with you. They are trying to subvert you. They are trying to stop you doing something. They want to destroy you. And that can take many forms. It could be very subtle. You might have an enemy at work who is secretly trying to stop you getting promoted. Maybe saying bad things about you that are untrue.
So it would be it would be fair to say that there are many ways of using the word enemy. So in its most basic form, the word enemy is a noun that means an opponent, normally in battle. So in this situation, we are stating that the most common way of using enemy, and certainly when we listen to people talk generally about things happening around the world, or maybe our own problems with other people, you might say a person is your enemy. They are fighting against you physically, or maybe in other ways as well. So maybe emotionally, a person might also be your enemy. They might be doing things to hurt you emotionally. So the word enemy is a noun that means an opponent. I like that word, opponent. Opponent. You might say that is the person opposite. So the opponent is the opposite thing. The thing you are facing, the thing you are confronting is the opponent.
Somebody that's normally you would think they're trying to destroy you in some way.
An opposing person or group seen as threatening or hostile. So again, we are using quite a few words here. So the opposing person or group. So it can be an individual. One person can be your enemy, or a group of people might be your enemy. Two groups of people can be enemies towards each other. They are opposing. they are seen as threatening or hostile. So maybe something hostile might be dangerous, or something you should not approach. Something that is hostile might be seen as aggressive, something that could attack or might cause harm. They appear hostile. They are described as the enemy. I suppose we should mention this subject. In war, the opposition is referred to as the enemy. So generally speaking, Steve, in any battle, any war that is taking place between two armies or two groups of people, we often describe the opposing side as the enemy. Of course, the enemy can be on both sides. So from there, these people are the enemy. But from here, these people are the enemy. So quite often in war, you find both opposing sides are viewed as the enemy.
Yes, and who's right, we don't know. I'm not going to talk in specifics, but as we know, there are lots of wars going on at the moment. But I was reading an interesting fact about war recently, and I'm sure you will realise, but it's literally always been there. We're focusing on what's going on at the moment in the world, but this is what has shaped our society and civilization over thousands of years. There have always been wars, and there probably always will be. So these are just the latest ones going on now. I mean, some of them obviously have been going on for thousands of years, but between certain groups. But yeah, war is a part of humanity.
Yeah, you might also say that what you just said, in fact, progress quite often results from some sort of conflict, maybe a certain right or a certain human right that one group feels as if they deserve. And this is going back over many, many years in many different countries. So very few rights that we enjoy nowadays have been just given away. They've not just been given. Quite often there has to be some sort of battle or some sort of war taking place. So you are right, Steve. Wars have always occurred. 200 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. So China is a good example because it's one of the oldest civilizations. They've had many wars. Way before any other society even developed as it can be seen nowadays, you will find that there were many wars, many civil wars, many disagreements. So it's always happened. It's always gone on. And guess what? It always will. There will always be some sort of war taking place.
There'll probably be one final war to end all wars, and that'll be it. But let's hope that doesn't happen in our lifetimes.
Yes.
I was going to say something else then. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, yes, something about wars. But yeah, it's always happened, always will, because usually there's one group of people who have got something that another group of people want.
Yes.
Or it's a religion that they don't like, or something.
Anything, or maybe just a given right, or maybe some sort of freedom that a certain group feel as if they want, or maybe they feel as if they are being disadvantaged in some way. So there are many reasons why you could have a war, and quite often there will be some sort of enemy involved, depending, of course, on which side of the battle you are on. The opponent poses a threat. They are seen as the enemy. So you might say that the opponent is the person opposite you. Again, this word is often used when we are talking about two people or two groups having a battle. One group is the opponent. The group being attacked might be seen as the opponent to the other side. So again, in battle, both sides could be seen as the enemy. So normally in some sort of battle there will always be two opponents, normally. You can have more than one, of course. Battles can be quite complicated sometimes, as we often see. So the opponent is seen as a threat. However, this does not always relate to war. You can, of course, have an opponent in many other situations, can't you, Steve?
Yes, you can have. If you're just because you're opposing somebody doesn't mean they're an enemy. So you could be in a competition, football competition, badminton, running. It could be a sporting arena where you can describe that other person as an opponent or that team as your opposing team. But it doesn't mean you're enemies. That the enemy bit comes in when certain emotions like hate start to come into play.
Yeah.
So you can have friendly rivalry between different teams.
That's a good word.
But it doesn't mean you regard your opponent as an enemy. In war, yes, you probably hate. You've got to have some hate in there, I think, to have an enemy, some real dislike.
But you can still refer to that person as the enemy if they are maybe against you in some other way. It doesn't have to be in the landscape or in the situation of actually having some sort of war.
Yes.
You can refer to it almost in a humorous way even. The prefix enemy is placed before anything connected to the opponent, and before anyone says, I have spelt opponent incorrectly. I was rushing this morning, I was typing some stuff, I was adding it, and yes, I have spelt the word opponent incorrectly, but it's there anyway for everyone to see. At least you know that I do this myself. At least you know that a human being was doing that.
So what should it be, Mr. Duncan? I'm learning English and wondering how to spell opponent.
What should it be? There it is. There's opponent spelt correctly.
Yeah. A typo.
And there it is spelt incorrectly.
Double P.
Yes, there should be two P's. So enemy can be placed in front of anything connected with the opponent. So the enemy can be a thing that belongs to the enemy. For example, enemy base. So the place where the enemy are, maybe their headquarters or their base, the enemy base. We often talk about the enemy line as well. So this might be the boundary of one group who are fighting against another group. The enemy line is the line that you cross, and then you will have to come face to face with the enemy, the people you are fighting. Enemy weapons. Weapons used by your opponent, the person you are fighting or you are at war with. Enemy soldiers. So the military, the soldiers that are fighting you, they are the enemy soldiers. So we can often use the word enemy as a prefix in front of the word.
Talking of, sorry, are you going to say something, Mr. Duncan? I was going to talk about enemy. I was just going to use a word that Pedro used earlier, and strangely enough, somebody else used earlier, which is a word which we don't often hear about. Rancor. Rancor. Pedro said earlier, do you have rancor in your heart?
Well, in fact, I talked about that word at the very start.
Oh, I see. That's why. Okay.
Yes.
That's why we had it
because
right.
I was looking at the word grudge.
Right.
And that can also be an inbuilt hatred or resentment. And it can also be described as rancor as well. It is your inner frustration.
I wonder why people were using that word, because it's a very It's not a word you often use, but it's a very good word.
Often
Rancor.
It is often used formally.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But in answer to your question, the answer is yes. I've got lots of rancor in my heart, which is very unhealthy. Once people, problem with me is once somebody does something that really, really upsets me, and I do put up with a lot. But once they do, and they've crossed that line, that's it. And it stays in my heart. It festers away. It's very unhealthy, by the way. But anyway, the answer is yes. I hold grudges.
Yes.
And over, the last sort of 50 years, there's a lot of them in there now.
So holding in your grudge.
Here's a good one from Giovanni. I was going to mention that one. You might have it coming up later. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes, well, it's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Of the person you are fighting against, but then later an even worse enemy comes along, and so you decide to join with the enemy you were fighting with previously to fight against the even worse enemy.
Yeah.
So it escalates, and we've seen this happen a lot, especially in the Middle East during the 1970s and the 1980s. Sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and that has happened sometimes with not very good results.
Yes, people. Yes, it's an interesting thing. If you want to try and win a war or beat somebody, then you can team up with somebody who is an enemy of yours.
Yes.
In order to two people against this other enemy, you both don't like this other one, and it's quite an interesting concept.
We have, moving on, Steve, the word foe. Now, this is an interesting word because it doesn't necessarily mean enemy. Now, that might sound strange. The word foe might also be used to mean enemy, but in the singular sense. So normally, if you are seen as a person's enemy, one person, an individual, will be the foe. They are the opposition. But quite often, or normally, or more often, we use it to mean a singular enemy. So the word foe can often be used when we are describing one thing or one person who is actually against you. So one single enemy, one threat, a dangerous thing, or an arch foe. I love that word, by the way, arch. So they are your opposite. You might say that Batman, for example, has some very notable foes. The Joker. You might say that the Joker is Batman's biggest foe. He is the arch foe. He is the person who is against Batman.
And you can, of course, say arch enemy as well.
That's it.
Somebody who is a real, absolute enemy. Somebody that there's no question that you would ever be friends with them. They are so completely opposite to you, good or bad, there is no way you would ever see eye to eye. In other words, agree with each other. They're your absolute enemy.
Yes. So it's almost like your complete opposite in every way.
Yes.
Hence the phrase arch.
There would never be negotiations taking place. It just it just wouldn't happen. If you've got an arch enemy, it's not just an enemy. They're just your absolute worst enemy.
Yes.
You will never foe.
You will never be able to reason with them.
You'd never. You just one of you's got to fight it out and get rid of the other one.
Yeah.
There's no other way it's going to happen.
Yes. We might use the word enemy to refer to a rival or a competitor. So this is what we briefly mentioned a few moments ago, Steve. The word enemy might also refer to a competitor or rival. So there are many situations where that might happen. Mr. Steve mentioned sport, but of course we can also refer to it in business as well. Maybe in a humorous way. We might refer to an opponent in business as the enemy. So we're not fighting with them in a war, but they are seen as your opponent. You might describe them as the enemy.
Yes, I was going to say that phrase you used, rival, before, is somebody that you are in competition with. And of course, in wars, essentially you're in competition with somebody for something. Might be land or something. But a rival business, they're not necessarily going to be as bad as an enemy. They're just people that you're in competition with.
Yes.
You might not regard them as enemies. You might even talk to them or see them, in trade fairs or something like that. You're rivals. You're in the same business competing for something. It could be coffee.
Yes.
It could be pens or something. You're both selling the same thing or similar things, and it's your rival. They might become an enemy if they then do something in business which is very bad to you. They do something that's against the law. Maybe they start talking about you to other people in a bad way.
Well, that's basically it, isn't it? So in a way, your rival can be. They're still not going to come with an army and burn your headquarters down. So not in that sense, not in a aggressive sense or a physical sense. So quite often in a joking way. So you might go to a conference or maybe an exhibition where many different companies are there, Steve, and you might see one of your colleagues go over to another group of people who are also there, and then they come back to you and you say to them, "Oh, I saw you talking to the enemy. I saw you talking with the enemy."
As a jokey,
Yes. Well, it says here on the screen, in a joking way.
Yes.
So in a joking way, we might refer to an opponent, someone who is also doing the same thing as us, as the enemy. But quite often we use it in a humorous way, not serious.
Of course, rivalry can lead to wars, and two towns might rival each other. Two groups of people with different beliefs might be rivals.
Yes.
But they might start off with sort of just being a rival. In other words, they're not really opposing each other, they're not fighting. But then something can change. One side, you might get a new leader and they decide to do something bad towards, and then suddenly they are enemies, and then suddenly rivalry for countries and for groups of people can lead to wars if you get somebody in power who decides that they're going to do something bad.
I think what you want to say there is it can escalate.
It can escalate.
So a small disagreement might eventually escalate.
There's always that potential, but of course in business there are sort of you're guided by certain rules that you're supposed to follow.
Yes.
Of course they don't always follow it.
No, and of course in some situations things have escalated with rival businesses in certain parts of the world where things that are not very nice can also occur. In battle, so we are now back to actually fighting the enemy. In battle, the enemy is marching against you. They are your adversary. So I think of another interesting word there. The person who is against you, the person who is your opposite from what you want to do. They are against you. We can also say they are your adversary. your adversary or adversary is often the way that people will pronounce it.
Yes.
Or adversary.
It's just like another word for rival, isn't it? Or competitor. Yeah. And
So-
if it's an individual person, groups of people, obviously, you could have an enemy as an individual. But that's another word. I don't know whether you're going to mention that. Nemesis.
That's a good one.
You can have a nemesis, can't you? A person that is. Would you describe them as an enemy?
Yes. Yes, they are the person who is quite often maybe sort of hidden away or unknown, or maybe they will suddenly reveal themselves. So the nemesis is something that can occur or exist. Sometimes.
I used to have, when I was in another company before, there were two. I was in one company and there was one other company selling the same product, and that particular rep in my area, we were always competing with each other.
Yes.
For the same business with the same customers. He had his product, I had mine, and he was my nemesis, and I'm sure I was his nemesis.
Yeah.
So we didn't like each other. We never spoke. When we did see each other, maybe at somewhere, we wouldn't talk to each other, or we'd be very curt. And a nemesis is somebody you want to beat. You want to beat them. They are
Well, not physically.
not physically, no, but
Well, you want to win.
somebody that you really dislike, and you want to get one over on them. You want to beat them. You want to get
Yes.
that business off them.
But beat in the sense of win.
And
Not actually attack them.
and probably because they did something which really upset you, like they might have said something to a customer about you that wasn't true.
Yes, anyway, we're going off slightly. But in battle, the enemy is marching against you. And of course, the battle, as Steve just said, the battle can be any disagreement. Maybe something to do with law as well. You might have, the enemy might be a person who is trying to sue you or take you to court to try and get money from you. So it can work in many ways.
You can battle an illness, can't you? If you're ill, you can be. Somebody might say, "Oh, you haven't seen you for a while. How are you?" And you might say, "Oh, I'm battling illness." It's quite a common phrase to use. It means you're fighting.
Yeah.
With this whatever illness you've got.
Yes. We often specify the particular illness. You might battle cancer,
Yes.
for example. Groups at war are enemies. So you might say quite basically, this is as basic as it gets. Two groups at war are enemies. We are saying that those two groups don't like each other. They are trying to come to some sort of, final conflict, something that will put everything right, or maybe there will only be one winner, or maybe they will have a truce. Perhaps they will both agree that they should stop. So maybe later they will carry on fighting, but at the moment they stop. They stop. They have some sort of truce. So groups at war might be described as sworn enemies. So this is a phrase that we can use quite often in English. Two groups or two people who really don't like each other at all. They really don't get along. You might describe them as sworn enemies.
Yes, they've been enemies for such a long time, they almost can't remember why they're enemies anymore. There could be conflicts going back hundreds of years. Nobody can remember the sequence of events, who started what when. But for whatever reason, they've got such different values and beliefs that they are sworn. They always will be enemies. There's nothing that will ever make them have peace.
They will never reconcile.
No, they're irreconcilable differences between them.
Here's another one. Enemies can be rivals, as in not physically hostile. So this kind of mentions what we talked about a few moments ago. Enemies can just be rivals, not necessarily physically hostile to each other, but they might do things. They might release a new product that is better than the other group, and so you will have some sort of battle taking place. So that opponent, that business opponent, might be seen as the enemy, but not physically hostile. They might do it in other ways, normally financially, or using advertisements, or some sort of, they might say something bad about your company that isn't true.
Well, that's it. I mean, companies can be rivals, but you could describe them as the enemy if they have done something to maybe say something against your company that wasn't true. They've used very bad practices to try and gain an advantage.
Yes.
In business. So it's crossed over that sort of line of acceptability of what's acceptable in normal business practice. You might be suing them, they might be going to court, because, I mean, this can happen in marriages, can't it, when marriages break up?
Yeah. Now that is something that could be physically hostile.
Yeah, but
that's a whole different thing. Enemies can be rivals, but not necessarily physical. The phrase, here we go, Steve, some phrases now. So here is the first one. We have enemy of the people. We often hear an individual or maybe a group described as the enemy of the people. And I always find this a very interesting phrase, because it is, of course, all depending on the other person's situation or their
point of view. So it is an interesting phrase. But generally speaking, when we describe an individual or group as the enemy of the people, we often refer to a dangerous presence in society. That thing exists, so it is seen as the enemy. Maybe one person, maybe a person who reveals lots of secrets about the government. They might suddenly become an enemy of the people because they are seen as dangerous. A spy.
Oh, yes.
A spy would be described as an enemy of the people or an enemy of the state.
Yes.
Somebody who is subverting the country, or even doesn't necessarily have to be an enemy of the state. It's as in a spy that most people would agree would be pretty heinous. But they might be just opposing just the state of things.
Yes.
In terms of whoever is in power, the person in power might not be very popular. But somebody is trying to oppose that and maybe change the government. But the government might say that they're an enemy of the people, but really the government might not be popular with anyone.
Well, it is kind of subjective. So every situation where you have the enemy of the people, that person might be the good guy, and the government are the bad guys. So it is very subjective in that actual situation.
Typically, somebody who's trying to undermine a country or a regime would be described as an enemy of the people. But I think a spy would be a good description of that.
I think so. Here's another one: a person who is sleeping with the enemy. Now, I like this. This might have a little naughty meaning, but it isn't necessarily naughty. So to be sleeping with the enemy means you are just there you are infiltrating that group, or you have crossed sides. So you have joined the enemy. You might be sleeping with the enemy. It means you have now gone over to that side, sometimes in secret, or sometimes very clear and obvious. So it is an interesting phrase that we often refer to as a person who goes to the other side. They might be marked as a traitor. The term for a person marked as a traitor
comes of course from the spy. A spy might fall in love with somebody might fall in love with somebody from another country with different values, and which can happen. Of course that then becomes a conflict of interest then, because you might be in love with somebody in a country who is, or works in the government of another country, and of course countries are very clever at trying to get people to fall in love with their spies, aren't they? We've seen lots of books written about this, lots of novels. Trying to get people interested, falling in love with or have relationships with spies of other countries.
They have the most amazing phrase. They call it a honey trap.
Yes, so
it's a wonderful phrase, because imagine a bee buzzing around and there is some honey and the bee goes, ooh.
So
I can't resist.
It can literally mean you are sleeping with the enemy, but the phrase also, there may be no relationship going on. It just means you might have a friend, or you're talking to somebody in this other government or this other company that's a rival. You might be seen in the evening having a meal out with the CEO of a rival company, because you might be friends of a friend, or somebody knows that person.
Yes.
And of course, then if somebody sees you at work and said, "Oh, I saw Bill the other night," they were having a meal out with the CEO of our rival company. We can't trust him anymore, because obviously there's a compromise. You're a compromised person.
Yes, you would say you think that person is sleeping with the enemy. So it means he's just with them. He's spending time with them. He might be giving information to them that you don't want them to find out about.
I think the implication is that they are a traitor.
Yes.
If you say that person is sleeping with the enemy, it means they're a traitor.
Here's another one.
Many more? Are there many more?
Yes. Oh, yes, we've got more, Steve.
Okay.
Another phrase. Don't look so disappointed.
I'm feeling hungry, Mr. Duncan.
The enemy within. Oh, you might have an enemy within. A hidden danger. So again, this can refer to many different types of situation, maybe in government, or maybe a political party, or maybe a country, or perhaps in a business. You might have the enemy within, a person who is walking around, and they could be the enemy, but they are...
An infiltrator.
Yes.
The enemy within. Someone has infiltrated the company, the government of an opposing side, and usually done deliberately, and they're spying, and you don't know. They seem on the surface perfectly all right.
Yes.
But they're a traitor that's working within the organisation. You could use the word traitor, and whatever that organisation is, and they are working against that organisation.
But of course, this particular thing is unseen, or you can't actually see it. You can't even sense that thing. The enemy within is a hidden danger, something that is there, but you don't quite know what it is or who it is. The final one, Steve. I can almost hear Mr. Steve's relieved stomach. Mr. Steve's stomach at the moment is saying, please give me some food. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. This is a well-known expression. It might seem odd, but it is a good piece of advice, especially for those in business. Again, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Keep an eye. Watch those who might do something against you. Make sure you have contact with them so you can follow them. You can see, you can hear, you know what they are doing. So if a person is seen as the enemy, quite often it is good to keep them close to you so you can watch them.
Yes, it means that you should pay a lot of attention. Basically, it's saying you should pay a lot of attention to what your enemies are doing. More so, you should pay more attention to your enemies than your friends, because it's your enemies that might make life very difficult for you if you can't see what they might do next. So, have your spies out and your infiltrators.
Yes.
To see what's going on in that other company or that other government or whatever it is, other country. And you might even go out to lunch with because it's very common practice in business to go out to lunch or a meal somewhere. Invite your rival along. In business, there's always lots of sort of meet points where companies can meet up together.
Yes.
It might be a trade show or something like that.
Yeah.
And you could send somebody in to go to their stand, find out what they're doing, what are they selling, what do their leaflets look like, what's their new product look like. You might even pretend to be interested in buying a particular product.
That's it.
You might have no interest at all. You might even buy other companies buy other rival companies buy each other's products and then test them to see if they've got some advantage.
For someone who wants to go, you seem very comfortable there. So keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Always keep an eye on those people who may cause
and in
you
Spanish,
harm. Sorry?
In Spanish.
I'm still speaking, Steve.
Yeah, carry on.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Keep an eye on those people who may or may not do you harm in the future. Steve?
Have we finished?
No. Well, you said you wanted to say something.
No, I finished now. That's
but
it.
You interrupted me.
No, I got the... Forget it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Steve, on this wonderful professional moment. And we will see you again next week. By the way, we might have some big news next week concerning the 2025 rendezvous. We're not going to give you the location today, but if you watch next Sunday, we might be revealing some of the things, some of the details. So if you are interested in joining us next year for a big get-together, then you might want to watch next Sunday, because there might be some very interesting details coming your way.
Thank you, Giovanni. I will have a look at TNT. No, I won't pronounce that. For my Italian studies. Yes, I'll screenshot that and look them up. I do need to start my Italian studies again. Lovely to be here, to see you all, and lovely new viewers and lovely people that come and watch us every week. And look forward to seeing you all again next week.
And we will see you next week, Mr. Steve. There he goes.
Lots of things for Mr. Duncan going on in the week. So, I'm only here on a Sunday, but Mr. Duncan will have lots of lessons and probably another live stream later on this week.
So give us a lovely wave and one of your classic smiles. There he is, and there he was. Mr. Steve will be back with us next Sunday. It has been a long one today. Have you noticed? it's been a little bit longer. What do you think of the long English Addict? So normally we finish around about 4 o'clock, but today we've gone on for an extra half an hour. What do you think? Is it good? Is it bad? Maybe you've just fallen asleep in front of me. That does happen quite often. It is time for me to sign off for today. I hope you've enjoyed today's English Addict. I hope it's been interesting. We've talked about a lot of things today. By the way, it is raining at the moment. The rain is now coming down quite heavily outside, as you will see in a moment. Thank you for your company. I hope you've enjoyed this extra long English Addict. Please give me a lovely like as well if you like this. Show your appreciation by clicking underneath the like button. Captions will be available soon. You will be able to watch this again and again. I'm back with you on Wednesday. Wednesday, of course, is next month, the 2nd of October. October is just around the corner. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will see you very soon. This is Mr. Duncan in the birthplace of the English language, saying thanks for watching, see you later, and of course, until the next time we meet, you know what's coming next. Yes, you do. Stay happy, stay safe, keep that smile upon your face as you walk amongst the human race. And of course, ta-ta for now. See you on Wednesday.